What a beautiful group we are today. I can feel your energy already. Yes, yes, yes. So let's ask once more, just honestly between you and me now, how many of us are still holding on, still trying to carry the whole past on our backs, still trying to control everything because we are so frightened to let go and so frightened to begin to love ourselves? Almost all of us, of course, because we do so much work on ourselves, and still these old barriers appear. They appear as old stories. They appear as tight shoulders. They appear as the voice that says, "Not you, not yet." And today what I want us to do together is not to attack those barriers, not to bully ourselves into changing, but to introduce a very gentle doorway, the doorway of willingness. I am willing. You don't have to be healed right now. You don't have to be brave all the time. You don't have to know how to forgive. You don't even have to know how to love yourself. You just need to be willing. Willing to let go a little, willing to open a little, willing to learn a different way. Let's take a nice deep breath together now and let it go. And as you exhale, notice if there is even one tiny part of you that can whisper, "I am willing to let go and learn to love myself." That is enough to begin. Letting go, my darling, does not mean erasing the past. We could not do that even if we tried. And it does not mean pretending nothing happened. And it certainly does not mean saying that what was hurtful was somehow all right. Letting go means this: the past no longer drives the car of your life. The memory may remain, the learning may remain, but the old wound is no longer sitting at the steering wheel deciding where you can and cannot go. When we refuse to let go, we give yesterday the power to write today. When we are willing to let go, we begin to bring the power back home, back into this moment, back into our own hearts and minds. And you see, you are the only thinker in your mind. You really are. Other people may have put in ideas. They may have written painful sentences on the walls of your inner house when you were too small to say no. But now, today, as the adult you are, you get to decide which sentences stay and which ones go. You get to say, "That thought may have come from my mother or my father or that teacher or that experience. But this mind is my home now, and I am willing to choose new thoughts." You can begin again from here. You don't have to wait for another birthday, another year, another relationship. You can begin again inside one breath, inside one new thought, inside one tiny willingness. And of course, for many of you, when we talk about letting go, the deepest pain rises from very old places, very tender places, from experiences that were not just a bad day, but true shocks to the system. Things that happened when you were so little that you did not even have words yet. And when we go that deep, we must go slowly. We must go kindly. We must build safety first. I never want you to bulldoze yourself into the old pain. I never want you to think, if I just rip all the bandages off at once, I'll be free. Because the nervous system doesn't work that way, the inner child doesn't work that way, and true healing certainly doesn't work that way. Real healing happens in an atmosphere of safety, not pressure, in an atmosphere of kindness, not violence, in an atmosphere of permission, not force. So before we ask this inner child to remember or to feel or to release, we begin by saying, "You are safe with me now." Let's play a little with our wonderful imagination. People think imagination is for children, but I like to say we have been imagining disasters for years. Now let's imagine something that helps us, because the subconscious mind responds beautifully to images. So if it feels comfortable for you, just gently close your eyes for a moment and take another soft breath in and slowly out, and allow yourself to picture a place where your inner child is completely protected, completely watched over, completely safe. It doesn't have to make sense to the logical mind, it just has to feel right. Perhaps you see a cozy little cottage with a strong door that locks from the inside. Perhaps you see a circle of tall, kind guardians, or a wise grandmother, or a fairy godmother standing near the bed. Perhaps there are big friendly dogs at the gate, wagging their tails for you, but very firm with anyone who does not belong there. Let this be a place where no one shouts, where no one criticizes, where no one touches without consent, where no one disappears without explaining, where the little one inside you finally gets to exhale. And as you imagine this, notice how your body responds. Notice if your shoulders drop just a little, if your jaw loosens just a little, if your breath goes a little deeper. That is not make-believe. That is your nervous system learning a new pattern of safety. We are teaching the body gently that we are safe now. Now, with that image alive in you, bring that small one into the picture. That version of you who went through so much with so little power, so little information, so little choice. You don't have to see every detail. Maybe you just sense a presence, a small weight on a bed, a child sitting on a step. Perhaps you even feel them hiding in a corner. And you, the adult you, who is listening to my voice right now, you get to walk in through that doorway, not as another critic, not as another judge, but as the loving guardian they always needed. You might say softly inside, "I am here. I am here now. I am not going to abandon you. I am not going to call you names. I am not going to tell you to get over it. I am here to listen. I am here to protect. I am here to love." You might even imagine putting a soft blanket around their shoulders or sitting beside them and simply breathing together for a moment. When you do this, you are reversing years of internal abandonment. Instead of pushing the hurt part of you away, you are integrating it. Instead of saying you are too much, too broken, too dramatic, you are saying you are mine, and I am willing to learn how to love you. And that little phrase again and again, I am willing to sit with you. I am willing to hear your story in small pieces. I am willing to stay when you cry. I am willing to protect you from people who are not safe. I am willing to learn how to care for you the way you deserved from the beginning. You don't have to know how to do all of that yet. You just have to be willing to be the one who learns. As you stay with that inner child, you may notice strong feelings rising. Old fear, old shame, old confusion, old body memories. And if at any time it feels too much, if your heart starts pounding too fast, or you feel yourself spinning away, that is not a failure. That is not you doing it wrong. That is simply the part of you that says, "This is big, and I would like more support." In those moments, you can gently open your eyes, look around the room, feel your feet on the floor, remind yourself of the date and the place, and say, "Right now, in this moment, I am safe enough. I can come back to this little one later, and I can also seek help if I need it." There is great wisdom, my dear, in reaching out to a qualified therapist or counselor, especially for very deep or traumatic experiences. We do not heal alone, we are not meant to, and there is no shame in asking for a hand to hold as you walk back through those old corridors. Our work here is to create a new inner atmosphere so that when you do that healing work, whether alone or with a helper, it lands in a mind that is kinder than the one that was there when the hurt happened. So we begin today with 3 simple truths. Letting go is taking your life back. You are the only thinker in your mind, and your inner child needs safety before it can release the pain. Letting go does not erase the story, but it rewrites the ending. Choosing new thoughts does not deny what was said to you, but it refuses to let those old sentences rule you forever. Creating a safe inner place does not change what happened long ago, but it changes what you carry into your tomorrows. And every time you whisper, "I am willing to let go and learn to love myself," you open the door a little wider. You invite in a little more light. You tell that small one inside, "We are moving in a new direction now." Take one more gentle breath with me, and as you exhale, say inside or out loud if you can, "I am willing to let go. I am willing to learn to love myself. I am willing to begin again right now." That willingness is the seed. Our work together is simply to water it again and again with kindness. Now that we've begun to create a feeling of safety for that little one inside, I want to gently turn our attention to an area where so many of us ache. Love and relationships. You see, the way you feel about yourself is the way you walk into every relationship, the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you reach out, and the way you pull away. And I want you to hear this very clearly. The most important relationship you will ever have is the relationship you have with yourself, not with your partner, not with your parents, not with your children, not with your friends, with you. Because you are the one who goes home with you at night. You are the one who wakes up with you in the morning. You are the one who hears every thought you think. When you are at peace with you, you become so much easier to love because you are no longer asking anyone out there to do the impossible job of filling an empty place that only your own love can truly touch. Take a soft breath with me now, in and out. And just notice how often your mind has thought something like, "If only someone really loved me, I would feel okay. If only that person came back, I would be fine. If only I had the right relationship, I would finally relax." Do you recognize that voice? Most of us do. And I want you to know there is nothing wrong with you for wanting love. Of course you want love. Of course you long to be seen and cherished and chosen. We all do. Love is our nature. The difficulty begins when that beautiful longing turns into a desperate hunger. When we go from, I would enjoy sharing my life, to, I cannot breathe unless someone proves I am worthy. That is when we shift from love to neediness. And neediness, my darling, creates an invisible pressure, an invisible weight, an invisible demand. People may not know how to put it into words, but they feel it. They feel the tightness. They feel the fear. They feel the message underneath. You are responsible for my self-worth. And that is a burden no healthy relationship can carry. Love is a gift we share. Neediness is a debt we try to collect. So many people come to me and say, Louise, I am so lonely. Why does love keep running away from me? And when we look a little deeper, we often find the same old pattern. Inside there is a harsh critic, a very loud judge, a constant voice that says, you are not enough. You are not attractive enough. You are not interesting enough. You are too much. You are not lovable. And then from that wounded place, they go out into the world and try to find someone who will come and argue with that voice all day long. But the universe is not cruel. The universe is honest. What we believe about ourselves becomes the filter through which we receive love. If you are convinced you are unlovable, you will ignore the people who treat you well and chase the ones who confirm your old story. If you are convinced you are not worth staying for, you will never fully trust the ones who do stay, and you will cling so tightly that they can hardly breathe. The lack of love on the outside is so often a mirror of the lack of approval on the inside. You can't reject yourself all day and magically feel secure at night. Let's take another breath together, in and out and I'd. And I'd like you to gently, lovingly ask yourself a new question. Instead of asking, who will come and fill me? Ask, how can I care for myself today? Feel the difference. One question says, I am empty, and someone out there must fix it. The other says, I am precious, and I am willing to learn how to tend to my own heart. One question sends you out to chase, chase, chase. The other brings you back home to your own center. I often say, you are not a beggar for scraps of affection. You are the host of your own inner home. When you make your inner home warm and kind, the people who knock on your door will change. People who only know how to live in drama and chaos do not like warm, quiet houses. They are uncomfortable there. But people who know how to give and receive love will feel drawn to that atmosphere. Now, I want you to imagine this very simply. Imagine that you are holding a cup. If your cup is empty and you thrust it into someone's hand saying, fill it, fill it, fill it, or I will collapse, that is a lot of pressure for them, isn't it? But if you gently hold your cup and you say, I am learning to pour love into this cup myself. I am learning to speak kindly to me. I am learning to rest when I'm tired. I am learning to say no when something hurts. I am learning to say yes to what nourishes me. Then when love arrives from the outside, it becomes an overflow, not a life support system. Self-love is not a wall that keeps others out. Self-love is the foundation that allows healthy love in. Let's bring the body into this a little. Put your hand on your heart if you can. Feel that gentle pressure. Feel the warmth of your own skin. And just say quietly, I am here for you. I am learning to care for you. I am willing to be on your side. You may feel silly. You may feel nothing. You may feel a lump in your throat. Any response is all right. We are not aiming for perfection. We are aiming for a new direction. The old direction was, what is wrong with me that nobody stays? What is wrong with me that nobody chooses me? The new direction is, how can I choose me today? How can I stay with me today? This is the shift from hunting for love to becoming a loving presence for yourself. And you know, when you become kinder inside, you stop chasing people who confirm your self-hatred. You begin to lose interest in the ones who make you feel small. You may even find that some relationships fall away not because you are unlovable, but because you are no longer willing to starve. So often, when someone feels desperately lonely, they are actually lonely for their own approval. They have abandoned themselves over and over, abandoning their needs to keep the peace, abandoning their feelings to avoid conflict, abandoning their dreams to avoid criticism. And then, when everyone has been taken care of, they wonder why they feel so empty. My dear, you are always in the room. If you ignore you, you will feel lonely even in a crowd. When you become your own ally, your own advocate, your own gentle parent, the loneliness begins to soften. You may still enjoy companionship. You may still want partnership, but you are no longer living on emotional crumbs. Let me give you something very practical. Instead of waking up and immediately thinking, who wrote to me? Who noticed me? Who loves me? I want you to try asking, what is one small way I can show love to myself this morning? Just one. Perhaps it is making a nourishing breakfast instead of skipping the meal. Perhaps it is taking 2 extra minutes in the shower to simply feel the water and say, thank you, body, for carrying me. Perhaps it is catching that first critical thought and replacing it with, I am learning, I am growing, I am willing to be kind to myself. These look like tiny things, but tiny things, repeated, create a new life. We do not build self-love with one grand gesture. We build it with small moments of respect, again and again. You might say to me, Louise, I have been so harsh with myself for so long, I don't even know where to begin. And I would say, begin where you are. Begin with the voice you use in your own mind. If you had a friend who spoke to you the way you speak to you, would you keep them in your life? If the answer is no, then you have just discovered your first assignment. You are going to teach your inner voice some new manners. You can notice when it says, you're stupid, and you can gently correct it. No, I am learning. It says, you're unlovable, and you reply, no, I am worthy of love, and I am learning to give that love to myself. It says, no one will ever stay, and you respond, I am staying, I am here, I am not leaving me. This is what I mean when I say you are the authority in your life. Not your past partners, not your parents, not the people who rejected you, you. And from this place, relationships become a choice, not a rescue mission. You no longer go out asking, who will save me? You go out asking, who can I share my already growing love with? You stop chasing the ones who don't know how to love themselves, hoping they will love you better than they love their own being. Instead, you start to recognize fellow travelers, people who are also learning, also healing, also willing. Does that mean you will never feel triggered, never feel afraid, never feel insecure? Of course not. We are human. We will continue to grow as long as we breathe. But when insecurity arises, instead of clinging to the other person and demanding that they fix it, you know where to go. Back to your own heart, back to your own lap, back to your own arms, back to that inner child we just talked about. And you say, sweetheart, I see you, I hear you. Let's breathe together and remember that we are learning how to love ourselves. So let me ask you this, and let it land softly. Are you willing to stop hunting for someone to love you and begin learning how to love yourself? Not perfectly, not instantly, just willingly. Are you willing to take even 1 ounce of that energy you use to scroll and compare and yearn and direct it inward as care? Are you willing to change the question from who will complete me to how can I be a little kinder to myself today? If the answer, even the tiniest whisper of an answer, is yes, then you have already begun. Take one more deep, gentle breath, hand on your heart if you like, and say with me, I am willing to let go of chasing love. I am willing to let go of proving my worth. I am willing to learn to love myself. I am willing to care for myself today. And so we plant that seed again. Willingness, willingness, willingness. You do not have to arrive today. You only have to keep turning gently but surely back toward you. Let me ask you something very simple and very important. When was the last time you did something sweet just for you? Not to take a picture, not to make a point, not to prove anything to anyone, but simply because you exist and you are worth being cherished? When was the last time you bought yourself flowers and actually let yourself enjoy them, really enjoy them, like a little child looking at colors for the very first time? When was the last time you cleared a corner of your room, wiped the dust away, lit a candle, put on soft music, and said to yourself, this space is for me because I matter? I want you to notice what happens in your body when I say this. Maybe there is a little voice that says, oh, that's silly, or I don't have time, or when I finally have a partner, then I'll do that. That voice is part of the old training. It is the voice that says you only deserve romance when someone else is watching. And I am here to gently, firmly, lovingly contradict that. You are worthy of romance because you are alive. You are worthy of beauty because you breathe. You are worthy of tenderness because you have a heart. You do not need a special occasion to treat yourself as special. In fact, treating yourself as special is what makes your whole life a special occasion. I often say you can stand in a kitchen eating over the sink, and tell yourself, it's just me, it doesn't matter. Or you can put the same food on a plate, sit down, take a breath, and say, this is my little ceremony of caring for me. One choice tells your subconscious, you are an afterthought. The other choice tells your subconscious, you are a priority. And the subconscious listens. Oh, it listens. It listens not just to the big affirmations you say once. It listens to the tiny, repeated rituals you perform every day. Every time you choose something kind for yourself, you are whispering to your mind, I am worth the effort. I am worth the time. I am worth the beauty. So you might buy yourself a small bouquet, not because you are lonely, not because you are trying to impress the neighbors, but because you are teaching your inner child, we will not wait for someone else to decide that we deserve flowers. We decide that now. You might clean your desk, not to punish yourself for being messy, but to say, my work, my thoughts, my creativity deserve a clear place to land. This is how you create a loving atmosphere for your mind. You feed your eyes with beauty, you feed your ears with gentle words, you feed your body with small comforts, and the mind begins to settle. The mind begins to believe, maybe I am welcome here. Maybe I am not a problem to be fixed. Maybe I am a being to be cared for. I want you to really hear this. Life is always mirroring your inner atmosphere. If you treat yourself as an inconvenience, life will send you people who treat you as an inconvenience. If you treat yourself as an afterthought, life will send you situations where you are always the last to be considered. If you treat yourself as a burden, you will meet people who act as though you are too much. But when you begin to treat yourself as a precious guest in your own home, when you begin to move as if you are a small miracle, because you are then the outer world, slowly, gently begins to adjust. The invitations you receive change. The conversations you tolerate change. The places you spend time in change. The opportunities that appear change. Not because the universe suddenly decides to like you, but because you have changed the way you signal your own value. When you walk through life as if you are a walking apology, you attract people who are happy to keep you apologizing. When you walk through life as if you are a walking blessing, you attract people who recognize blessings. I am not talking about arrogance. I am talking about quiet self-respect. You are not better than anyone else, but you are not less than anyone else either. You are an equal soul, learning, growing, making mistakes, trying again. And when you decorate your life with that truth, in small, practical ways, you are creating a romantic field, a loving field, for your own mind to rest in. Now, let us talk about something so many people misunderstand, the law of attraction and self-love. People love to say, you attract what you want, and then they blame themselves for every painful thing that has ever happened. I want to soften that for you. You do not attract every detail of reality by thinking one thought. Life is more complex and more mysterious than that. But it is true that you do not attract from what you wish. You attract from what you believe you deserve. This is why I spend so much time talking about worthiness. A person can stand in front of the mirror and say, I want a loving partner, and still feel deep down, no one would really choose me, that deeper assumption will quietly shape their choices, who they say yes to, what red flags they ignore, how long they stay in what hurts. Self-love does not guarantee that nothing unpleasant will ever happen to you. It does something more powerful. It changes how you respond when it does. It changes what you allow. It changes how long you stay. It changes how quickly you say, "No, this is not aligned with the way I treat myself." Self-love is not just an emotion. It is a standard. So if you want to work with this beautiful law we talk about, this law of resonance, I would like you to begin here. What do I really believe I am worthy of? Not what you wish, not what you post, not what you say to your friends. What do you feel in your bones when you are alone at night? Do you feel you are worthy of kindness? Or do you secretly feel you have to earn every drop? Do you feel you are worthy of rest? Or do you live as if you must collapse before you are allowed to stop? Do you feel you are worthy of being spoken to with respect? Or do you quietly accept sharp words and tell yourself, "This is the best I can get"? This is your frequency of self-worth. And the good news is, it can change. It can grow. You are not stuck with the first version of yourself you learned in childhood. Every kind thought, every healthy boundary, every small act of honoring your needs raises that frequency a little. And as it rises, you begin to attract differently. You choose differently, you stay differently, you leave differently. Let me give you 3 very gentle signs that your self-love is already rising, even if you don't see it yet. The first sign is that you are not attacking yourself quite as fiercely as before. Maybe you still criticize yourself sometimes, but perhaps you catch it sooner. Perhaps you hear yourself saying, "That was so stupid." And afterward, a new voice whispers, "Well, I did the best I could with what I knew." That new voice is your healing voice. That is the voice we want to nurture. Even a tiny decrease in self-attack is a big victory. Every time you refuse to insult yourself, you are planting a seed of respect. The second sign is that you are learning to say no when something does not feel right. It might be a tiny no. "No, I can't take that call right now. No, I won't overwork tonight. No, I won't pretend I'm fine when I'm not." You may feel guilty at first because the old program says you must always be available, always be agreeable, always be pleasing. But underneath the guilt, there is a little relief, isn't there? That relief is your inner self saying, "Thank you. Thank you for protecting me." A boundary is not a wall to keep love out. A boundary is a doorway that lets healthy love in and keeps harmful patterns out. The third sign is that you feel less and less need to prove yourself all the time. You may still enjoy achievements, but they are no longer your only source of worth. You begin to enjoy doing things for their own sake, not just for the applause. You can make a mistake without completely crumbling. You can watch someone else succeed without immediately turning it into a verdict against you. This is a beautiful, beautiful sign that you are beginning to root your value in your being, not in the performance of the day. I want you to notice how all of this ties together. When you create a loving atmosphere around you, your flowers, your tidy little corner, your cup of tea made with care, you are telling the universe, this is the level at which I treat myself. When you speak kindly to yourself in your own mind, even when you have messed up, you are telling the universe, this is the tone I accept. When you say no to what hurts and yes to what nourishes you, you are telling the universe, this is the energy I am available for, and life listens. Maybe not in one day, maybe not in the dramatic way we see in movies, but steadily, steadily, steadily. People who cannot meet you at that level of respect begin to drift out. Situations that once thrilled your wounded ego begin to feel boring. You find yourself drawn to gentler spaces, gentler conversations, gentler choices. You realize you no longer have the stomach to live in chaos because you are getting used to living in care. Let's bring this back to you right now. If you were to romanticize your own presence just a little more, how might that look today? Maybe you buy the cheaper flowers at the supermarket and put them in an old jar and decide, this is my altar to my own existence. Maybe you change the sheets on your bed and say, I deserve to sleep in a clean, soft nest. Maybe you choose music that soothes you instead of music that agitates you. Maybe you put your phone away for a few minutes and really taste your meal. These are not silly things. These are love letters to your nervous system. These are ways of telling your overworked, overcritical mind, it is safe to relax here. You are not on trial. You are at home. And when your mind feels at home, it does not need to cling to everyone who walks by in case they might rescue you. You stop grabbing. You start choosing. You move out of desperation and into discernment. So I will ask you, gently but clearly, are you willing to treat yourself a little more like a gift and a little less like a problem today? Are you willing to create one small moment of sweetness just for you, not because you are perfect, not because you have earned it, but because you are here? Are you willing to experiment with the idea that as you raise your self-respect, you naturally raise the quality of love you attract? You don't have to get it right. You don't have to fix your whole life by tomorrow. You only have to be willing to soften that inner voice, willing to say no when your body tightens, willing to say yes when something truly feels kind, willing to look in the mirror and say, even if your voice trembles, I am learning to love you. I am willing to love you. I am willing to believe that I deserve good things. Take one more deep breath with me now, in and out, and just notice how it feels to imagine a life where your mind is surrounded by love instead of criticism, where your home feels like a safe little nest instead of a storage room, where your relationships are built on choice and mutual respect instead of panic and proof. That life is not a fantasy. It begins with tiny decisions made from the assumption everything works out better when I am on my own side. You do not have to wait for the perfect partner, the perfect moment, the perfect body, or the perfect bank account to begin radiating a different signal. You can begin today, in this very breath, with this simple intention. I am willing to treat myself with love. I am willing to believe I am worthy. I am willing to attract relationships that reflect this new truth. And as you do, life will, slowly but surely, begin to arrange itself around that new song you are singing about yourself. Let me share something with you from my heart. I spent so many years being excellent at one thing, and that one thing was criticizing myself. I was so good at pointing out what I hadn't done, what I had done wrong, what I should have done better. And perhaps you know this place too. You go to bed at night, and instead of saying, "I'm proud of myself for showing up today," you replay the one sentence you wish you hadn't said, or the one task you didn't finish. You ignore the 97 things you did right, and you poke at the 3 you didn't. And then you wonder why you wake up tired. My dear, criticism weakens us. Appreciation strengthens us. This is not philosophy. This is energy. When you criticize a plant, it does not grow faster. When you scold the soil, the flowers don't bloom brighter. And yet, for years, we have been trying to grow by scolding ourselves. It doesn't work. You have been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. I want you to imagine that your spirit is like a delicate garden. Every kind word you offer yourself is a bit of sunshine. Every little acknowledgement of your effort is a drop of water. Every tender, "I see you, I'm proud of you," is rich, nourishing fertilizer. You don't wait to water the garden only when the roses are in full bloom. You water it while it is still just seeds and tiny, fragile sprouts. In the same way, I don't want you to wait until you become some perfect version of yourself before you say, "Good job, darling." I want you to practice now, in the messy middle, in the trying, stumbling, learning place you are in. So let's make this very practical. I would love you to play a little game with me just for today. Before you go to sleep tonight, I want you to give yourself 3 sincere compliments. Not grand, dramatic ones. Simple, honest ones. One for something you did, one for something you faced with courage, and one for the way you treated yourself with even a little more kindness. For example, today I answered that message I'd been avoiding. I came back. It matters that I came back. That's a compliment for your action. Then, today I was scared to speak, but I did it anyway. I am proud of my courage, even if my voice shook. That's a compliment for your bravery. And then, today I caught myself being harsh inside, and instead of tearing myself apart, I softened just a little. I am grateful that I am learning to be gentler with me. That's a compliment for your kindness to yourself. 3 small sentences, that is all. Can you feel how different that is from, "I didn't get enough done," "I'm so lazy," "I'll never change"? One way of talking turns you into a failure. The other way of talking turns you into a human being who is growing. What you praise grows. What you water flourishes. What you acknowledge awakens. When you make a habit of noticing your own efforts, you begin to stand a little taller inside. You become less desperate for other people's approval because you are no longer starving yourself emotionally. You are feeding your own soul. And if you find that a part of you says, "But I don't deserve praise," I want you to recognize that as an old tape, an old hypnotic suggestion from the past. Someone may have told you that acknowledging yourself is arrogant. Someone may have made you feel that only perfect performance earns love. That was their fear talking. That was their wound speaking. Today, we are doing something new. We are allowing love to speak. So, take a breath with me now, in and out, and quietly say to yourself, "I am willing to notice what I am doing right. I am willing to appreciate my efforts. I am willing to be on my own side." You don't have to leap to, "I am amazing and flawless." You only need to be willing to treat yourself as a friend, not as an enemy, willing to offer 3 little drops of emotional fertilizer each day. Over time, your inner garden will respond. You will wake up one morning and realize you no longer feel quite so small, quite so ashamed, quite so unseen, because you are seeing you. Now, I want to talk about something that so many of us find difficult: receiving help. We live in cultures that worship independence. We are told that strong people handle it alone, that asking for help is weakness, that needing support means you are failing. My darling, that is such a painful lie. I did not heal my life by myself in a dark little room. I healed in community, with teachers, with friends, with groups where we held hands and cried and laughed and learned together. You are not meant to do this alone. You are not a one-person universe. The same way a tree is supported by a whole forest of roots underground, you too are meant to be part of a network of care. When you reach out to a trusted friend, to a support group, to a counselor or therapist, you are not saying, "I am broken." You are saying, "I respect myself enough to get the help I deserve." That is not weakness. That is wisdom. That is not failure. That is self-love in action. Think of a small child trying to carry a suitcase that is obviously too heavy. If that child asked you for help, would you say, "You are weak, carry it alone"? Of course not. You would probably say something like, "Oh, honey, that's too heavy for you. Let me take some of that weight." Inside you, there is a part carrying suitcases that were never meant to be carried alone. Trauma, old stories, depression, anxiety, grief. And that inner child is often terrified to ask for help because they learn that asking gets them shamed or ignored. But you, the adult you are today, can choose differently. You can say, "I am going to find someone safe to help me carry this." You might call a friend and say, "Can you just listen for 10 minutes?" You might join a group where people share similar experiences. You might sit down with a professional and say, "I'm tired of pretending I'm fine. I would like to understand myself better." That is an act of courage. That is an act of honoring your own life. You are worth the time it takes to heal. You are worth the effort it takes to be supported. You are worth good, solid, loving help. If your mind is objecting right now, I don't want to bother anyone. Other people have it worse. I should handle this on my own. I would like you to gently question that. Who taught you that your pain is a burden but other people's needs are holy? Who taught you that your tears are annoying but your labor for everyone else is noble? Those are old, upside-down rules. We are turning them right side up. Take a moment, put your hand on your heart if you can, and whisper inside, "It is safe for me to receive support. It is safe for me to ask for what I need. I deserve people who can hold space for my healing." You do not have to tell your story to everyone. Not everyone has earned that privilege. But you are allowed to choose a few safe souls or one professional guide and let yourself be held. Sometimes the most loving thing you can say to yourself is, "I cannot carry this all by myself anymore," and that is okay. That is not giving up, that is growing up. You are learning that your well-being matters enough to share the load. Now let's look at those parts of you that you have been calling bad habits or ugly sides or my worst self. Maybe you overeat at night. Maybe you scroll endlessly on your phone. Maybe you say yes when you mean no, and then feel resentful. Maybe you drink too much, work too much, hide too much. Most people try to change these patterns by attacking them. I am disgusting. I am weak. I am such a mess. Why can't I stop? They speak to the habit like it is a monster to be killed, and the habit tightens its grip because it was never a monster to begin with. It was a bodyguard. A clumsy, outdated, sometimes harmful bodyguard, but a bodyguard nonetheless. Every negative pattern you carry today once began as an attempt to keep you safe. Overeating might have been a way to comfort yourself when no one else was soothing you. People-pleasing might have been a way to avoid being shouted at or abandoned. Numbness might have been a way to survive overwhelming feelings. Isn't it true? When no one else showed up to protect you, the habit did. So, instead of punishing these parts, I want you to try something radically different. I want you to meet them with understanding. This is loving responsibility, not blame, not denial, but compassionate honesty. You might close your eyes and imagine that habit sitting in front of you. The late-night snacking, the frantic overworking, the endless checking of messages. Give it a shape, a color, a little personality. And then, instead of screaming at it, speak to it the way you would speak to a tired, overactive guard dog. You can say, very softly, "Thank you for trying to protect me. Thank you for doing the best you knew how to do." You acknowledge that at some point, this pattern had a purpose. It helped you feel less alone, less scared, less powerless. Then you say, "Now I have new ways to feel safe. Now I have new ways to soothe myself." You let the habit know that its job description has changed. You finish by saying, "I release you with love. I let you go in gentleness, not in hatred. I don't need you to carry this for me anymore." Feel what happens in your body when you talk this way. There is a softening, isn't there? A little less war, a little more space. When you tell a habit, "You are awful, you are ruining my life," it clings to you defensively. When you tell it, "I see why you came. I understand what you tried to do, and now I am choosing another way," it can finally begin to loosen. This doesn't mean you excuse harmful behavior forever. It means that you stop trying to heal through self-violence. You begin to heal through understanding. From that understanding, you can start to build new, healthier responses that meet the same need in a kinder way. If food has been your only comfort, you can start adding other comforts: warm baths, gentle movement, journaling, talking to someone who truly listens. If overworking has been your only sense of worth, you can begin to cultivate worth in rest, in creativity, in simply existing. You are not getting rid of a bad part. You are updating your self-care system. So ask yourself tenderly, what was this habit trying to give me? Safety, numbness, company, a feeling of control. And then, how else can I give myself that in a way that does not hurt me? This is how we let go with love, not by screaming, not by shaming, but by evolving. We thank the old survival pattern, we learn from it, and we choose a new response. If you like, you can create a little ritual. The next time you notice the urge to go back into the old habit, pause for a moment. Put your hand on your heart or your belly and whisper inside, I know why you're here. You came to keep me safe. But I am learning a new way. I choose a new way now. Maybe you don't always succeed. That's all right. Every time you pause, every time you speak kindly instead of cruelly, every time you remember that this pattern once protected you, you are slowly, gently rewiring your inner world. My dear, everything we have spoken about praising yourself, allowing support, loving your so-called negative parts is really about one thing: ending the war with yourself. When you stop attacking your own heart, your own mind, your own coping mechanisms, you free up so much energy that you can use to live, to create, to love, to rest. Self-approval is not vanity, it is fuel. Support is not weakness, it is wisdom. Understanding your habits is not indulgence, it is the doorway to genuine change. So take another deep breath with me, in and out, and let these words settle. I am willing to approve of myself. I am willing to be supported. I am willing to release old habits with love. You don't have to do it perfectly. You don't have to do it all at once. You only need to be willing to put down the whip, willing to pick up compassion, willing to treat yourself not as a problem to be fixed, but as a precious life to be tended. And as you do, something beautiful begins to happen. Your inner child starts to trust you. Your body starts to relax. Your mind starts to brighten. The world outside may still have its storms, but inside, the weather changes. There is more sunlight, more softness, more room to breathe. You are learning to be the loving parent, the kind teacher, the loyal friend that you always needed. And from that place, letting go is no longer a punishment. It is a gift you give to yourself. You set down what hurts because you finally know you deserve what heals. Now, before we close, I want to give you a small but very powerful gift. A few simple sentences you can say with me. These are not just words. They are new instructions for your mind, new nourishment for your heart. So, if you can, put put your hand gently on your heart, take a soft breath in and out, and let's do a little repeat after me together. Quietly, in your own mind or out loud if you like, I am willing to let go and learn to love myself. I deserve love, romance, and joy. I choose to look at everything through the eyes of love. I attract healthy, loving relationships. I approve of myself, right here and right now. You can say these in English. You can adapt them into your own language. You can whisper them in the simplest words. You know, what matters is that you are turning toward yourself with kindness. And as we come to the end of our time together, I want you to remember this. You do not have to heal everything in one day. You are not a project that must be finished. You are a life that is unfolding. Every morning is not a test. It is an invitation to say yes to yourself, just a little more than you did yesterday. You don't have to know how it will all work out. You don't have to be fearless or perfect. You only need to be willing to pause before you criticize, willing to soften before you shut down, willing to choose one tiny loving action for yourself. I am willing. That is your magic doorway. That is enough to begin. And as you keep beginning, day after day, love will meet you more and more.